Alright guys, welcome. This of course is the FnaticRaidCall Grand Finals between IMSeed and Fnatic aLive. Now this tournament was held over in Korea, and unfortunately the final casts were not able to be turned into VODs. There was some issue with that, so of course Fnatic, wanting to get that content to the viewers, has brought in a couple of us casters. With me, of course, is, and I guess he needs no introduction, but of course here it is, Greetorp is with me on the stream. I of course, am Gwyn. I'm going to be jumping into this game. It's game one, it's on Metropolis, and a little bit of Terran vs. Protoss.
I'm ready for this when you are, man, so I'm ready to kick it off. Just call it out.
Alright, we're going to go ahead and get right into this game, starting in 3, 2, 1. And switching over to that game screen in the purple, in the, I guess this is the 3 o'clock position, we do have aLive from Team Fnatic. And in the orange, we do have Seed from Team Incredible Miracle as our Protoss.
And it's great to actually be casting for Fnatic. You know, I was actually a professional player for them in StarCraft 2.
For quite a bit of time.
For quite a bit of time, about a year, and then I switched over to casting, so unfortunately we had to part ways. Of course, they weren't really going into that. They're definitely a huge multi-gaming team.
Oh, yeah.
And they've been performing really well, taking some great players. aLive is one of them. We're going to see him face off against, Seed, who really isn't known all that too well, but he's a fantastic player, has not been able to make it into Code S just yet. But I do foresee him doing very well, seeing that he's obviously qualified all the way in the finals for the FnaticRaidCall tournament.
Yeah, I mean, he has done, quite well. Had to take out a huge bracket to get here. aLive, though, with a very similar, path to run. Very difficult from him as well. See the barracks going down from aLive at his front. Gateway at the normal time from Seed. So pretty standard openings out of these players so far. The big divergence right here, Greetorp, is going to be, of course, when aLive decides to take his gas, if he decides to take it, or if he's just going for that one Rax expand.
Sure. Metropolis is definitely an interesting map with Terran versus Protoss. A lot of times we do see the medevacs being one of the key units to actually keep you safe, especially in this beginning and mid-game stages. That's actually rather hard for Protoss to really take advantage of the Terran in the early and mid-game stages. Now, that's normally when Terran has the big advantage.
Right.
It swings around at the end game because that's when warp gates become so much more useful. You have all this space to defend, and what Protoss have been doing lately is stopping at 180 food. And when you stop at 180 food, you have just about 10 units that you can warp in wherever you want. So if there's a drop that runs over, you instantly warp in 10 Zealots or 8 Zealots and 2 High Templars, and all of a sudden that drop just gets demolished very easily for very little cost.
Yeah, absolutely. It is definitely one of those things that, I mean, if the Protoss maxes out, they cannot do the warp in to defend, and Terran can easily force a base trade if they do a big enough drop. And we'll have to see if, the game gets that far. Right now, aLive going for the 1 Rax expand, and, we don't see any additional buildings out of Seed. He's just got that Cyber Core, chrono boosting out that warp gate. And only 1 gas taken, so probably not a tech-heavy route out of him. It looks like, nope, there is the Nexus, so 1 gate expand. Both players opting for the economic opening in this matchup. One
thing that Seed, or rather aLive, could have done, if he actually noticed, was put a bunker at the Nexus where the natural Nexus was supposed to spawn. He saw that the gateway wasn't producing anything, so it's a great opportunity to take advantage of the fact that, hey, you don't have any DPS in that early game stage. I'm going to put an engineering bay and then cancel it after you actually go to try to kill it. But everything's fine for now. aLive just missed out on a little bit of an opportunity. I think he will follow it up with just the ever so standard 3 barracks, and he goes into some sort of tech play.
Yep, the double gas going down in the main, so that'll most likely be used for some barracks add-ons initially, and then a factory to get those medevacs out, like we've talked about a little bit. Terran can really start to be aggressive once they've got those medevacs. They can stim, they can get healed up. If they get force fielded poorly, they can just pick up all their units in the medevac and fly away. And that's kind of the position that aLive wants to be in. He wants to get those medevacs out as quickly as possible. And Seed, of course, on the other end, he is actually throwing down 3 additional gates, so he's going to be up on 4 gates. No robotics quite yet, and oh, this is pretty clutch out of aLive, sneaking an SCV, and we'll see everything going on.
This is kind of weird. Normally we don't see 4 gateway openings
Yeah.
after expansions. This normally implies some sort of gateway pressure in this early game stage. I think we will be seeing that. 2 accelerators are down right now. But, you know, it's overall kind of weird just because the map is so big. So it's very easy for Terran to defend or at least see some sort of pressure like this coming. I think a better alternative might be to go a Twilight Count so you get a really fast blink, knowing that, playing towards the metagame, knowing that your opponent is going to go for a fast medevac and just counter it, you know? All of a sudden the medevac comes, you blink up and you can do a ton of damage. No, Seed's not going to do that. Instead, he's going to go and try to pressure up, but these Marines, they're going to spot out this pylon. Very nice job, but is it going to be in time? Units already warping in.
Yeah, he does warp in a Stalker and a Zealot, and with just that one Stalker and Zealot, he should be able to, you know, push these Marines back at the very least, if not kill them all off. Great control, though, out of aLive, running that Zealot back, picking it off. 2 Stalkers, though, should be able to handle these 4 Marines just fine. And that pylon was his reinforcement point for any damage he wants to do. And really, at this point, it's kind of a race against time of whether he can push before the medevacs are out.
You know, it might not look like it, but I think aLive was given so much time in that particular engagement, and now you can see SCVs will come off the line. This is the perfect positioning that he needs. You can see that the bunkers are layered, and that's one of the most important things to actually defend against any of these pushes. So I think it would be very disadvantageous if Seed pushes in there, and you can see he's actually dropping back, getting additional gases. That does imply that Seed will stop this, and going for the Twilight Council with a third
and a
base.
Nexus.
That's
yeah, this is
awesome play.
Yeah, I mean, at the 8-minute and 20-second mark, like we are, this is a pretty fast third base, and he's basically just said, all right, I'm going to sit here with my sentries, put a little bit of contain on you. You can't quite push out until those medevacs are out, and as you can see, they're still about 30 seconds away, and that will, of course, allow Seed to gain that economic advantage over his opponent. Tries to pinch off from Marauder with that force field, misses by just a little, and decides it's time to go home.
Now, what does aLive do from here? This is kind of a tough decision for him. Normally, we do see a very fast third. He has 400 minerals, so he has the capacity to put down a command center right now. He should be doing that ASAP, but instead, he's just going up with his medevac drop. I think actually going for additional barracks would be terrible in this position just because you're not really going to do anything with additional units. You don't need it. You already have map control with those medevacs. We'll see if he's able to do any damage at all in this first game.
And look at this. Seed doesn't have any pylons scouting on the edge. This drop is actually going to be able to unload safely and make it on in. Great reaction time out of Seed, though, pulling all those probes. But aLive, he's going for the Artosis pylon, gets one of them. And the units of Seed a little bit out of position to deal with this, and that Nexus might fall. That would be huge, and it does go down. Wow, aLive with the great snipe there, and this equalizes the playing field.
Beautiful play by aLive, but I have to say, Seed is the one that actually messed up in this. I mean, you know this is the time where medevacs are prevalent. There's a very big map, so you should know, hey, my opponent's probably going really fast tech. There's no reason for my opponent, the Terran player, to go something like mass units on ground. It doesn't give you that mobility that you so desire when you're trying to expand on a map like Metalopolis. The expansions are very spread out, so it's really, really important that you're able to get the mobility, put the pressure on your opponent in multiple spots.
Absolutely, and then we see aLive. He did take out that proxy pylon up at the 12 o'clock base and is now pushing down the map with one medevac unit stopping at that Xel'Naga tower, and at the same time, that double drop that sniped the Nexus is headed around to the back of the base once again to try and do it all over.
Yes, High Templars are out in the field right now. Storm is almost done, and those medevacs will run into a couple of Stalkers. They're going to push them out. In the meantime, that group of Marines and Marauders with that one single medevac on the left-hand side, that's streaming down to the third base, and it could just disrupt a little bit. I don't think it'll do too much damage because a lot of warp-ins are possible, but still, I like the map activity that aLive has currently.
And that Templar there will not do anything. I was looking for the feedback on that medevac. It never did happen. The forces of Seed coming in to clean this up, and aLive, I mean, he just is okay, I took a little bit of damage on my medevac, I'm just going to pull back behind these rocks, expand. That's absolutely fine, and the third is flying down to its position from aLive as he moves out with quite a bit of Marine Marauder through the middle of the map.
with a pretty substantial supply lead, I think pressuring up is the correct decision at this point. You can see 136 supply to 100, and the big advantage that High Templars have on this stage are the fact that they can do a lot of damage if your opponent is standing still, but when you're attacking, you don't really need to stand still. You can basically back up forever. You know, you have so much position to work with. So this is really nice. Make sure that he, tries to waste as many of those High Templar storms as possible. Even the energy, it's really important. So ooh, drop in the back over here. And this is a multi-pronged harass that's going to do a lot of damage. High Templars are going to be sniped off in the front. 2 High Templars actually go down.
Yeah, that was pretty huge. And the forces running into the third at the same time. aLive playing this brilliantly. He hits the main. Now he's picking up in the main. At the meantime, the third Nexus should fall. Yes, it falls. aLive pulling back with a 30 supply lead at this point. And, I mean, really, he just wasted a bunch of storms. And his opponent didn't even kill off the army of aLive. So aLive is in a fantastic position, especially considering that Nexus going down.
As I was saying before, I think aLive did the best decision actually pressuring up right here. If it was another situation where the Nexus did not fall in that beginning stage at the main, then no, this attack did not exist. But because he did that, it empowered this push. He was able to start to materialize off of his bases a lot more efficiently than his opponent, and then just mass up and basically push or just take advantage of the surface area that Seed actually has to defend.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these bases, are somewhat far away, especially at the angle that aLive dropped into the main from. And Protoss is going to have to split their army perfectly to deal with that sort of aggression. And Seed just really, he had units in both places. He just didn't have enough in the right places, and so he lost that third base. Creator, I just saw a nuke finish training.
Yeah.
I just want to point that out, that we have a nuke. It is finished. There are ghosts on the way. Of course, the ghosts are going to be great for sniping those High Templar as well as the EMP, which is so potent against Protoss. But I'm really more excited about that nuke.
Yeah. Right now, it's an interesting dynamic. We have Seed actually ahead in the upgrades. Does have that +2 armor finished, whereas, +2 attack, +1 armor is now being researched for aLive. So there is that little advantage, but the composition for aLive is
so much
stronger.
Better. Oh yeah.
I mean, you can see the supplies have kind of evened out a little bit, but with the power of those ghosts, I mean, you can do just so much. Get rid of a lot of the advantage that Protoss have, and I don't know, it's all going to come down to how well these EMPs are placed.
Yeah, you were absolutely right there. It looks like Seed trying to spread out his units to minimize the effect of the EMP, but a lot of his ghosts are actually like split up in the same area, or rather not split up, clumped up in the same area. Wow, great snipe at the high ground. Templar picking off a few units, and Seed is in a tough position right now. He's gonna need and the positional nuke.
I love that nuke, and here he goes. It's actually gonna go forward. Feedback on the first couple of ghosts. But it's going to forward the Protoss back. No EMPs actually go off. What do you think about that, Gwyn?
I mean, he didn't do any EMPs. He does let the nuke land, and I mean, but look at this, loading onto the high ground. There's a storm up there, but this is the elevator play that's so hard to deal with. Wow, great EMP hitting some of those Templar, and Seed, I don't know what to say. I don't think he's going to be able to hold this onslaught from aLive.
No, he's just being pushed apart, man. I mean, there's so many different areas that he has to defend. Now the force fields are going to go up. The Marines getting a really nice storm on top of them, but isn't going to hit enough. There's just so much. Another storm continuation is going to hit right there, but there's just too much Marines and Marauders.
Yeah, I mean,
those are going to be coming in here, and this is looking
huge EMPs going down, making those Archons evaporate as they lose all of their shields. Those 4 ghosts that joined the party right there. And aLive at 150 supply, 155 supply to the 75 of Seed, barreling into the natural expansion, and GG. Wow. aLive with that Nexus swipe, that was insane out of him. I don't even know how he pulled that off.
Yeah, it was kind of weird for Seed to, I think he wasn't expecting such fast medevacs, but really on a map like Metropolis, you have to expect pre-10-minute medevacs. Other maps, you know, you have Shattered Temple, you have Shakura's Plateau. Yeah, I can see 10-minute, 11-minute medevacs.
Yep.
That's fine because there's a lot of all-ins that the Protoss can do that Terrans know they have to defend against. But on a map like Metropolis, where the positions are so spread out, it's kind of silly that you're not expecting that. When you don't expect that, aLive is definitely the person to punish you for that. Drops those 2 medevacs, takes out the Nexus, and gains a gigantic lead in that beginning stage.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Guys, we're going to be going into Game 2 in just a moment, so wherever you are watching right now, stay tuned. Game 2 is coming right up.